A listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive, we speak with a victim of the latest major data hack in Australia. Fertility giant Genea IVF was hit by hackers earlier this year. But over the past few weeks, patients have been informed by the company what private information was stolen and then published on the dark web. We speak with one new mum who reveals what highly confidential information was taken and her important warning to others. But first, let's check the afternoon headlines this Thursday, the 24th of July. The National Party is calling for greater transparency over the federal government's decision to lift restrictions on US beef imports into Australia. The ban was first introduced in 2003 to protect Australia from mad cow disease. While it was technically lifted in 2019, ongoing restrictions on cattle from Mexico and Canada made it really difficult for US beef to enter the Australian market because of shared supply chains. The federal government has denied the timing of this decision is related to the ongoing trade and tariff war with the US, saying a comprehensive review found the US had improved beef safety measures. Nationals leader David Littleproud has told the ABC he is suspicious of the timing and motivation behind the decision.
Well, I want to see the science. I'm suspicious by the speed in which this has been done. It looks as though it's been traded away to appease Donald Trump, and that's what we don't want. What we need to provide is confidence, and as legislators and as something as serious as biosecurity, we can't allow that to happen.
Meantime, former Prime Minister Scott Morrison has appeared before a US congressional committee investigating the growing threats posed by China. Mr Morrison says Beijing deliberately targeted Australia with punitive trade measures during his time in office, describing the strategy as an attempt to, quote, make an example of Australia as a key US ally in the region. Mr Morrison urged US lawmakers not to underestimate the challenge, with a warning to Western democracies.
You need to build the internal resilience, and that means an appreciation of the potential threat. And that is somewhat in jeopardy in Australia. Most recently, the Lowy Institute completed a survey, which for the first time in quite a number of years, there is a greater value on the economic partnership with China than concerns about the security threat.
And Brian Kohberger has been sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole or appeal for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students in 2022. The 30-year-old pled guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder earlier this month to avoid the death penalty. The family and friends of the 4 victims were able to address Kohberger for the first time in court. Steve, the father of one of the victims, Kaylee, took to the podium and turned to face Kohberger as he delivered his statement.
Within minutes, they had your DNA, like a calling card. You were that careless, that foolish, that stupid. Master degree, you're a joke, complete joke. The world's watching because of the kids, not because of you. Nobody cares about you.
Now it's time to get into our deep dive on the major data hack at Genea IVF. We speak with new mum and patient of the clinic who we will identify as Anna. After a rollercoaster emotional IVF journey that cost Anna and her partner tens of thousands of dollars, she's just found out via email the private information that they handed over to the fertility clinic, including their names, addresses, birth dates and highly confidential medical details, have been stolen by hackers and published on the dark web. Anna has already been alerted to possible hacks on her private accounts and is most concerned about what comes next. Anna, thanks so much for joining us. You used Genea to conceive your beautiful baby who was born a number of months ago. Firstly, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us what happened regarding this major data leak. When did you find out that your information, your private information, had been compromised?
So I first heard of the leak in February when they sent out an email just to I believe, a generic email that was sent to everyone who was a patient or had used their services, saying we're aware of the data leak, we're investigating it. And it wasn't until a week ago, so the 18th of July, that I got an email saying I was one of the people whose information had been leaked or hacked, and then they know it's been sold on the dark web.
So, Anna, we can hear your beautiful baby there with you now. Exactly what did the email say? Did it tell you what information had been leaked?
Yeah, so they had an itemized list of everything that had been leaked. So my full name, my phone number, my address, my date of birth, my Medicare card number, any of my private health insurance information, any medical diagnosis information that they had of mine, and any clinical information that related to the services that I was receiving at Genea.
We know for anyone that goes through IVF, Anna, that it's an incredible emotional journey, a roller coaster ride, and it's also a huge financial burden for people that want to conceive a child through IVF. How did you feel when you had received that email? That's an incredible breach of privacy.
Just a huge wave of disappointment. I think we put so much trust in this company to, help us through what is a really, as you said, like a really volatile and difficult time. And you kind of also are putting up a lot of money for this as well. And then to lose just vital information about yourself to Lord knows who is really upsetting and distressing. But also, unfortunately, a part of me was like, I guess this is just what happens now. Like when there are no consequences and they're private companies who, you just have to trust in them, and there's no real arbiter of safety guidelines or anything. It's just like, sorry about it. Here's an email and here's some resources on how to make sure you don't lose your information in the future, which I found hilarious because I was like, I didn't lose my information. You did.
Yeah, great point, Anna. For you, just going back to the list of private information and highly confidential information that has been compromised and, as we know, has been sold or leaked to the dark web, published on the dark web, one may argue, it was clinical information, medical diagnosis. That's highly private information.
Yeah, and it's really, I'm an open book with my friends. All of people in my life pretty much know everything that's going on with me, but it's a whole other level of exposure to be like, oh, someone who I don't know has purchased this information and can do with it whatever they want to do, which is really scary.
And there's a number of people now where we've had a number of data breaches, and you made a great point. The attitude, the blasé attitude of so many Australians right now is, well, here's another major data leak, and that's our private information that's now going to go on the dark web or possibly used for ID theft. Do you think there is this dangerous complacency now that we just accept that this information is not protected?
Yeah, I think hugely, because that was one of my initial reactions when it happened, was when the first email came out in February, I was like, oh, look, I think I'm all right. But I remember messaging my friends going, I guess we just have to accept that this is what it is now. When there's no paper records that someone can break into and steal. Everything is stored in a cloud and no one's going backwards. So you just kind of need to, that's a risk that seems to be more and more, well, I don't know if it's worth the risk, but it's a risk that's more and more prevalent.
So for you, Anna, and your family, are you now concerned that you will be taken advantage of, ID fraud, or possibly your accounts hacked? Because they've stolen a lot of information, which we know from the experts can actually set up a fake you.
Yeah, well, it sort of makes a bit of sense now, because I did receive a few emails saying, just checking you didn't try and log into your MyGov account just now if you didn't change your password, and that was maybe a fortnight ago. And so that was happening before I knew that my data had been stolen, and I went in and changed my passwords and things, and then I got the notification from Genea and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Someone has already tried to log into my account pretending to be me, and I've got in front of it, but, it's already happening.
There's already been a conversation, Anna, about the fact that we need to actually make companies more responsible for keeping our data safe. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a bit pessimistic about it, to be honest. We've let companies get to a point where they didn't need to have these safeties in place, or we just trusted them to have those safeties in place. They haven't had them in place and the data's already gone. So I'm like, it's sort of, wouldn't it be nice if we could trust that these things are are sacrosanct and safe. But it's like, well, if you want to partake in an online society, you kind of have to accept, I don't know, you have to accept that your stuff's going to get lost or hacked, and isn't that awful?
Anna, for you and your partner, when you were trying to conceive your baby, when you handed over this information and a lot of very, very confidential private information, did you think it was going to be safe, and did you ever think that that would end up on the dark web?
Oh, no, not at all. Like I thought it would be safe, and didn't even occur to me that someone would think to hack a private health service and steal that data. And I'm just like, what do you want to do with it? But now I know they've tried to be me online, I suppose, and it's just, it's really upsetting. It's just really upsetting.
So for both of you, when you were going through this roller coaster journey, to then finally have this beautiful gift of having a new baby and then think, we have given all of this information to you, we have trusted you, and there was that great breach of trust. How did that make you feel?
I was pretty heartbroken, to be honest, also because we've had one child using this IVF firm, and we do have 2 more embryos in storage. And so it's just kind of like, well, what do we do if we wanted to have a second child? Can we trust you, or is it everybody sort of a bit complacent? Because there are other firms that have had other sort of missteps just in the last year. And so it's just all a bit disheartening, really.
So for Anna, for you, we've seen a Qantas hack, we've seen a Medibank hack. It seems that every single week there is some type of new data breach. What would you like to see happen? Because as Australians, as consumers, we are trusting these companies to keep our information. It's not their information, our information's safe. What would you like to see happen in the future?
We're not just trusting them, though, we're also paying them incredible amounts of money. And so I think taking it seriously beyond just an email after someone's already hacked into my stuff or tried to hack into my stuff, not just an email going, hi, here's a helpline, here are some tech tips on how to protect your identity online. Like, I would have appreciated just a phone call, honestly, from, they've clearly had to hire external teams to mitigate the fallout. Just a phone call from someone with a bit of empathy to go, I'm really sorry this has happened. Here's what we're doing to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And, you can't protect yourself from everything, but here's what we're trying to do to protect you moving forward.
Yeah, it's absolutely right that you're saying that. We wish you all the best, and we're really sorry this has happened to you, Anna. It's such a beautiful time for your young family.
Thanks very much, guys.
That was Anna, which is not her real name, to protect her identity and her young family. And that's it for this episode of the afternoon edition of The Briefing. We'd love you to subscribe or follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast, and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning. I'm Natarsha Belling. Thanks for your company.